You've seen the Swiss cheese model, right? Where all the holes have to line up. The cool thing about business aviation is we implement all the new technologies first.
Are we as an industry, are we doing enough to promote the benefits that business aviation provides the country?
There's always going to be opportunities for those who don't appreciate our industry or don't use it to come after us.
Welcome back to the Aerospace Executive Podcast. Really happy to have Andrew Broom with me. Andrew is the Chief Revenue Officer at National Business Aviation Association, NBAA, as everybody knows it. And sitting here from Greensboro, he's up in Greensboro, North Carolina. And Andrew, thanks for coming on. We'll have a great chat. It'd be great to talk about the industry. A lot of chaos right now.
Oh, it's good
to talk about all the fun things happening and purview of the world.
It's definitely a crazy time. Really appreciate you having me on here. I've watched many of your podcasts and really enjoy them.
Oh, thank you. That's awesome. So what's going on in NBAA? What's happening at NBAA?
Two big things, obviously, are kind of keeping us busy. And we had a great webinar, actually, just before you and I talked, on safety and showing, how paramount safety is to every one of us. We had a really, really good podcast with Bruce Landsberg, Ed Bolin, our CEO, Charlie Precourt, who does safety for Citation jet pilots and former head astronaut at NASA. And then we had former Thunderbird, who's an Embry-Riddle adjunct faculty member and the head of the Air Traffic Control Association. So really good, topic about how we learn from things that, like what's been going on this year and how we use data really to enhance our safety. So that's a big one, obviously, with the very public accidents that have happened this year. And then the other big one is what's happening with, DC, what's going on there. So there was a hearing earlier this week. There also was an address that happened this week. So, and then there's also the tariffs that are being implemented. And we do have a webinar on Tuesday to talk in a lot more detail, at least of what we know at the time about the tariffs.
What's the data telling you? Safety right now is the big, we'll put tariffs, that's a different, what's the data telling you about safety? Obviously, there are few industries as focused on safety as aviation is. And the culture of safety, the SMS that's coming into the Part 135 operators, it's impressive. A couple high-profile mishaps. What's the data telling you?
The data right now is showing we're actually less fatal accidents than last year in the same 2 months. But these are very high-profile accidents that have happened. So it gets the politicians and legislators very engaged, right? Because we hadn't had a commercial accident of our own airlines in, I think it was 15, 16 years. Mm-hmm. And, that's one where, they've got to go figure out what happened and then how do we make it better. That's what our industry does, whether it be commercial airlines, whether it be business aviation, whether it be general aviation, is you go figure out what happened. I would say one of the things that we're a lot better at now is predicting where things can happen. You've seen the Swiss cheese model, right? Where all the holes have to line up for an accident to happen. And I think we're doing a better job of figuring out where those initial holes start to line up. Mm-hmm. so we can implement things to stop. You talked about SMS. The airlines have their FOQA programs, which we're doing in business aviation now also, where you're looking at approaches. You're seeing, are they stabilized? You're seeing where are the gates where people have made decisions to continue or try and correct, or they've gone around. And taking away some of the stigma in going around and saying it is okay to go around if you're not stable.
Yeah. I could never quite figure that one out. It's something's not safe. Let's just put the wheels up, put the power on, missed approach, we'll try again. And I could never figure out why that was considered a black mark on a flight crew. So, yeah.
Well, it's funny you say that because in my previous job, I was at the Citation Jet Pilots Association, and we worked with a company called Presage out of Canada. They had worked with many airlines, including Southwest and some Canadian airlines, for that exact reason, because there's cultural differences on crewed airplanes. There's cultural differences for types of airplanes. And what they learned is a lot of people, if they were 200 feet above, and they're, and they're a mile out, they can correct that, they think, right? If they're 20 knots above and they're 50 feet above the threshold, I can correct that. And so putting some gates in place that allow them, okay, if you're this far off, you might be able to correct it, but if you're this far off, no, go, miss now. And so putting those gates kind of a little further out and also showing some runway length type stuff, I think it's really enhanced the way people look at stabilized approach. All of the owner pilot groups, we have something at NBAA that we started about 4 years ago called the Owner Pilot Association Coalition, the OPAC. Where we brought together 10 of the professionally run owner pilot groups. So mostly single pilot operators, ranging from Cirrus all the way up to Citations, Phenoms, Embraer aircraft, Pilatus, and all of that and everything in between. And it's really to share information, but also look at some of the data capture. And for example, TBM and PMOPA, which used to be MMOPA, are working together because those are similar type airplanes, high performance single engine turboprop. And then CJP and Honda Jet and Eclipse, and those are working together on ways to implement things, because safety, there's no proprietary anything when it comes to safety. It needs to be shared across all of these. And so, we have great people like Charlie Precourt, who is really, really dedicated to it.
That's, look, it's awesome. And now if we could, once again, it's modifying the behaviors of, the small things make the difference. The circling approach that you shouldn't do. Think about it again. Obviously, we saw the Lear 35 incident in Scottsdale. It looks like, hey, look, it was a maintenance issue, and I'm sure that the investigations are going to come out on that, and you're going to find that it's not an isolated event. So it's getting people to I love the safety culture. I like how NBAA is pushing. A lot of 135 operators, they feel the pressure. Always have felt the pressure from passengers.
And additionally, we have a safety committee that is dedicated, obviously, to 135 and 91 higher level operations. So that is, I just brought up the owner pilot community because that's an area where, insurance and they don't have to do as much training as a 135 operator. And so there's some of them that are actually committing to 135 or 121 like training, which we know, training is one of the best ways to enhance safety, period.
Yeah. Are the insurance companies driving a lot of are the insurance companies driving a lot of thought processes? I do work, the TBM community of Pilatus. I know a lot of people that have bought SR-22s, and they think, hey, in 4 years, 3 years, I'm just going to move up into a TBM, and it's not that simple. The insurance companies get a vote too. So how much is that played into what y'all are doing?
Well, so insurance companies, we had a good run until about probably 8 years ago, where insurance was relatively flat. And then it went up, 4 or 5 years in a row where it went, 20 to 30% increases, which our industry had not seen. I remember I spoke at the Association for Aviation Insurance. Oh gosh, it was 2018, I think, to introduce a program we had called the Gold Standard Safety Program, where single pilots of Citations were doing 2 6158s a year, two trainings. One could be in sim, one had to be in sim, and one had to be or could be in aircraft or dual received of 6 hours. We thought the insurance underwriters would love it, and that they would go, okay, here's a group that is very committed to safety. We're going to give them discounts. I will say what we have learned is there's no discounts out there for insurance. But what they are doing, and it's just like a resume, and obviously you deal with this on a daily basis. It's how do you put that best resume forward, whether it be to an employer or to an insurance underwriter. And to an insurance underwriter, if they see you're part of one of these groups, if they see you're doing training that's more than what is required, they see you're doing some sort of other type of training, like a tailwheel endorsement or mountain flying or backcountry flying, those kind of things. A seaplane rating. Those are the kind of things that they say, okay, this is someone who's deeply committed to safety based on how you're learning how to fly helicopters too. So the insurance underwriters are not saying we're going to give you a blanket discount, but they are rewarding those who are deeply committed to more training.
I love it. That's interesting. I never really thought about it that way. I always thought about the underflown guys in the Premier and the Honda Jets and the TVMs and the Pilatus. I never really thought about, hey, go get your backcountry.
Yep.
Or a tailwheel, something like that. What's really interesting is a good friend of mine was chief pilot for a 91 operator with 3 Gulfstreams. And he's like, hey, I go send my guys to aerobatic training.
Yep.
All of them. I send them to aerobatic training. Twice a year. It's expensive, but they've got, it's good. It's good upset, makes them hand fly the airplane and think about things a little bit differently.
The UPRT
I like this thought
training.
process. I like this thought process on that.
Yeah, and the UPRT training, there's some great providers out there. That is one of those other areas where, some of the underwriters would like to see that kind of every 2 to 3 years is a refresher on upset recovery training.
And Chris Broyhill does a great job with that out west. I know he's really focused on it.
Sure.
What's got you guys really excited about the industry moving forward? I mean, you're obviously in the catbird seat. What's got you guys really excited about business aviation right now?
Well, I mean, our industry is doing pretty well when it comes to backlogs and orders and things like that. I'll tell you, the one thing that just happened recently that is kind of a new trend, last year we got an FAA bill, right? So a 5-year bill that we are all very excited about and happy about. And it had general aviation in the name for the first time ever. Mm-hmm. More recently, that there's been over the past decade fights over user fees and air traffic control privatization. And the good thing is right now we're a united front for all of aviation when it comes to ATC and enhancing the current system. We all agree, airlines, labor unions, general aviation, business aviation, all agree privatization is not the answer. The answer really is getting more funding to go upgrade the system in a faster way. And adding space, adding safety, adding, everything that we could with new technology. So that's a pretty big shift is, working together and saying the same things. We had a joint letter with the airlines and 33 trade associations and membership organizations where we all agree on that path. So that's a really nice point in our industry right now. But the other thing, we're really excited. NBAA is in a good place. We have arguably the best event. I'm a little partial. The best event in the industry, the most powerful business aviation event every October in Las Vegas for the next few years. And then, we're coming off a few events and we're in our kind of conference and seminar area of the year right now. We had our leadership conference, which if you don't know about and you haven't been to, it is an incredible professional development opportunity for anyone at any level. And then we just had our IOC, International Operators Conference in Puerto Rico that did really, really well. And that talks about, best practices for international operations outside of the lower 48. Coming up, we have our Schedulers and Dispatchers show in New Orleans, and I will tell you, it's rocking. We've had to expand the show floor already 3 times.
Wow!
So it's going to be a great show in New Orleans. We haven't been back to New Orleans in a while, so it will be awesome. And then we have our maintenance conference coming up in Columbus, Ohio, and then another regional event. We just had a regional event in Orlando last week. That was very well attended. I think 2,800 people. And then we have our White Plains one that will be in June.
Yep. I'm looking forward to the White Plains one. Let's get back to modernization a little bit, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Yep. RVSM, a decade old now, probably a little more, probably 20 years old now. ADSB, everybody's ADSB now. What are the next big steps to, you hear these horror stories about air traffic control still using floppy disks. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But where do you guys feel like the biggest opportunities are for modernization in the system?
Well, me being the chief revenue officer, not as much of a technician when it comes to what is going to enhance air traffic control. I would say, one of the things we keep talking about is CPDLC, controller pilot data link, which allows nonverbal commands to be given and accepted. Saves a lot of time. You don't have to worry about radio transmissions either. The cool thing about business aviation is we implement all the new technologies first.
Yep.
You see them in the highest end business jets, actually, even down to the smallest ones right now. That's where you're seeing Autoland coming on board with some of the smaller airplanes right now, with the Vision Jet and the TBM and the M-class Piper. You're seeing Autoland. The Honda Jet's going to have it, and CJs are going to have it. So you're seeing that capability, which could be a good safety opportunity. But when it comes to the airspace system, I am, once again, not an expert as what's going to replace the floppy disk, what's going to replace the paper cards. I do know there's folks that are looking into what's going to allow the airspace to continue to grow, because I think that's extremely important. We can't. The airlines and business aviation are both growing right now, but also in a safe manner. We have some cool technology coming into the market, and it's coming pretty soon. All these advanced air mobility aircraft that are going to be in that airspace. We already have drones that are operating in the airspace with deliveries, through Walmart and Amazon and others like that. So this airspace is continuing to get more complex. And we need a system that can go along with that and be ahead of it.
Yeah, no, look, it's interesting. The Eclipse jet, I was with Scott Ashton, who runs Aerox. We were sitting at dinner a couple of years ago, and he was specifically talking about the Eclipse. And I did not realize how much technology that airplane and Vern brought to the forefront. And which is now, auto throttles, innovative solutions and support is really driving auto throttles in a lot of small airplanes. You're like, wow, it really is. Mm-hmm. You think about the $4 or $5 million, $6 million light jet. Technology wise is probably half a light year ahead of Delta 767, and people just don't. The general public doesn't realize that.
And just to add, I was there. I was at Eclipse.
Oh, that's right. You were.
I was there through all of it. And our technology, and for $1 million jet, and we did deliver a number of airplanes at $1 million. It's still one of the safest airplanes to ever be introduced. I think there's been one fatal in Africa. Other than that, the Eclipse has been extreme. It's a very docile airplane, but it did have incredible technology, from electronic circuit breakers to the Fostrix fire suppression system that was non-carcinogen, non-ozone depleting, to friction stir welding that could just, if you ever had an issue, you could repair it just like any other piece of aluminum, to our avionics display that was completely integrated, and it was not off the shelf anything, to our Jet Complete program, which now, honestly, you see being used by a similar type program with the Vision Jet owners.
It's fun. Yeah, look, and what Cirrus is doing. I was talking to the head of engineering at Cirrus, Jim Allman, great guy. I said, how many airplanes are you guys going to deliver this year? He's like, I don't know, 700, 800. It's like, wow. That's good. Good on them. Those guys have done a great job, and the technology's phenomenal. So
well, and one of the cool things with the Vision Jet, and I talked to Todd Simmons a lot about this, is he is creating that path forward for those going from an SR-22 to a jet and experiencing what a type rating is like, what jet maintenance includes. And, as you know, most people want to go higher, faster, further, right? And so their next step, I mean, he's building customers for Pilatus and Honda and Textron and Embraer.
Yeah, it's a great story. So, obviously a lot of scary stuff in the news now. A little bit of Europe, France, the environmental issues, tariffs now. Yeah, how are you guys handling? Yeah, I won't say the negatives, but obviously there's some challenges out there that need to be addressed. And how do we handle Europe, and how do we handle tariffs, and what's the best path forward?
Yeah, I don't know how we're going to handle tariffs because we all don't know actually how they're being implemented yet. So, I think Tuesday will shine some light on some of that with some experts who do know how they're going to be implemented. But we have supported Gamma and others and aircraft manufacturers talking about how, through our Climbing Fast campaign, which is kind of our no plane, no gain campaign, moved into a new era called Climbing Fast. We talk about the value of business aviation. We talk about the humanitarian efforts, the business efficiencies that business aviation creates, the jobs, the innovation, the workforce development, and the sustainability efforts that we have. Over in Europe, obviously, sustainability is a much bigger. It's a much bigger area that is focused on probably than over here. So we have to cater to the world, not just the U.S. So sustainability is a big deal. We've all committed to a net zero by 2050. And that's through a bunch of different things, from innovation with airplanes and more efficient engines to sustainable aviation fuel and much more. So there's a deep commitment on our side to tell, our mission is to foster an environment for business aviation to thrive. And one of the ways we're doing that is through our Climbing Fast campaign that is really focused on the policymakers and the opinion leaders and the politicians, and putting the best light on our industry and all the great things that come with our industry.
I write often business aviation in this country, it's thousands of really, really good paying jobs. It's not $20 an hour jobs. At McDonald's. I mean, are really good paying A&P mechanics and, to top production executives at Gulfstream and Cessna, et cetera. And you think about the flyover states, the Duncans and the West Stars of the world, et cetera. Are we doing are we as an industry, are we doing enough to promote the benefits that business aviation provides the country? I mean, it's really easy to throw rocks at the rich guy who's, getting on his Gulfstream. Are we as an industry really, is there more that we could do?
Absolutely. I think there's always going to be more that we can do. There's always going to be opportunities for those who don't appreciate our industry or don't use it to come after us. And so we have to nonstop. Safety is paramount. And promoting our industry is also right up there. So no, as an industry, I do think we have a lot more that we can be doing. We work hand in hand with our sister organizations like Gamma, as an example, to do things around the country at the grassroots level. But we also have to be within the Beltway in D.C. talking to the politicians. So we don't have that negative legislation coming up and hurting our industry. We can always do more.
Do they? Well, I don't want to get into that. That's kind of negative. I think about a lot of the politicians. They'll kind of, that's all political. There's a lot of outrage up here, but then below it, they tend to get it. And
one thing I'll add though, our industry is nonpartisan.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at the GA caucus, you will see both sides of the aisle represented.
That's great. I mean, I look at what the direction Europe is going towards jets. I was like, oof, this is kind of scary.
Well, both Europe and Canada, as examples of ATC privatization with Eurocontrol and with Nav Canada, you know, you have seen great examples of how that system does not work. Um, you know, Smaller airspace, much higher fees, and even the Canadian one got a really bad rating recently.
I didn't realize that.
It did. It got like a C or a C minus. Um, so yeah, we don't want to get in that situation. We need to have the most robust and safest system in the world.
Well, there's 45,000 airline flights a day in this country. I mean, that's a lot. And then put another, couple thousand business jet flights on. So let's just call it, 50,000 high performance aircraft flights in this country every day. And then you've got the Bonanzas and the Beach, the Barons and whatever else. To privatize it sounds really good. And everybody thinks, oh, we'll make it more efficient. But that does come at a high cost.
It does.
And that's the downside. Then it becomes it's not for everybody system either.
Right.
So I don't like that. How's Part 135? I mean, a lot of growth in 91K, Part 135. A lot of people coming into biz av that way.
Yeah.
How's that factoring into what you guys are doing?
Absolutely. Since COVID, you saw this little dip and then all of a sudden skyrocketing. And, there's various entry points, right? Whether it be Part 135, fractional managed aircraft, those entry points got a lot more inquiries when COVID was going on because people did not want to fly commercial and they wanted to go where they wanted to go when they wanted to go. So we had a lot of new entrants, new customers come in, ranging from those doing jet cards or just doing charter operations, all the way up to people who had never owned an airplane and they're buying their first intercontinental business jet, family offices type things. So there was a huge surge that led to incredible price increases on the used market and very low quantity on the used market. That's kind of coming back up now. We're getting back up into the mid single digits to low double digits on the used market, which is a healthy buyer seller market. And all the manufacturers have tremendous backlogs right now, with their new equipment. So the cool thing was that there was an expectation that a number of those people who came new into the market might just after a year or two kind of exit the market. And that's not what we're seeing. At least we don't collect that data, but what we're hearing from the experts, a vast majority of them are staying in the market. So you do see the 91K operators doing well. You see the other 135 operators like Fly Exclusive. You see the managed aircraft doing well, like Clay Lacy and Solaris and Jet Aviation. They've all grown over the past few years due to this increased market demand.
And not that I know you guys don't take sides and you're not favoring anybody, but you're here for everybody. Costs of operating airplanes has escalated over the years, so they're probably not coming down. Pilots are, the pilot issue is not going away anytime soon. It may sine wave a little bit, but the trend is generally we don't have enough pilots. Do you see a lot of consolidation in the 135 arena? Some of your 5, 6, 8, 10 jet operators, getting rolled up into a bigger operator, becoming Clay Lacy, Solaris are the two biggest I could think of. EJM, Jet Aviation, out there as well. Do you see these guys all banding together and at least trying to, if they don't merge and acquire each other, at least trying to band together and seeing where they can't get buying power as a bigger group?
Yeah, I don't know that I see them banding together, but I do see where they've acquired a lot of smaller companies. Look at Fly Exclusive as an example, or Wheels Up. They acquired a bunch of smaller companies to build their fleet and go that way. Do I see them banding together to, the pilot hiring is a big deal. And, with the airlines and some of the signing bonuses that they're pushing, the pilot salaries have gone way up because the airlines are offering a lot. When the airlines go up, then business aviation usually has to go up also to be competitive. we do have a deep workforce program where we're starting people kind of after high school. So in colleges, AOPA kind of focuses on the high school side. That's how these sister organizations work really well together. Is AOPA is really focused on the high school side, and we kind of go into the college and young professional. We have an amazing group of YoPros. We work with all of the college aviation programs. I went to one of those, and it was very heavily influenced. Hey, go to the airlines, go to the airlines, go to the airlines. And I never wanted to go to the airlines. I wanted to kind of come into business aviation. And so we've gotten things like the business aviation track for pilots. It's back at Embry-Riddle now. And we're seeing like the business aviation days at Auburn, North Dakota, et cetera. We're trying to show people at a younger period in their life that there's some great jobs in this industry.
The equipment's fantastic. Okay. Yeah, it's what I talk to pilots about all the time. It's like you can go to Southwest, you're in a 737, and you're going, the star arrival onto LaGuardia for the 5th time, this week. Gets a little boring. There's some different opportunities out there. The industry offers some great stuff. What's got you most excited about 2025?
I can't say that there's one thing that has me most excited. I'm excited about our shows coming up. Those are kind of where NBAA gets to go show off our stuff, right? And plan these opportunities for buyers and sellers to meet, for professional education, for those kind of things. So very excited about what NBAA has to offer. Like we have a new customer service certificate. That could be anyone from a pilot to a frontline customer service person. And the great thing about it is it's aviation focused. So you don't go buy this customer service training. It's an 8-hour online course. You don't have to go buy one that is not tailored to aviation. You can go to this one and you can train your team on, white gloves customer service and give them professional development that has a slant toward business aviation. So I'm excited about that. We just launched it really in January. We took pre-orders last year and started talking about it. Our professional development programs right now are doing really, really well. Our PDP, we're above budget for the year. So, there are people in the comments we hear, those training programs are well worth their time. So, I wouldn't say there's one thing that excites me. I'm excited to be in business aviation, period. I'm excited to, you talked about Vern Rayburn. He always had a comment that, when your occupation can be your avocation, it's a win because you never feel like you have a job. And that is, that's a great place to be. So I'm excited to be part of this amazing community, this amazing family of aviators.
Are you bullish? You bullish on the future?
I'm always bullish. I'm someone that always sees the glass half full. Yeah. So I am bullish. We have challenges, but those challenges are what make you stronger leaders, stronger. Yep. When you learn how to fix something, the next time it's a heck of a lot easier. And when you learn when you go through adversity, you become a better leader because of it, and your team does. Yep. So, do we have challenges? Absolutely. You're always going to have challenges, but I am bullish on our industry for sure.
I love it. Let's leave it at that. We'll end it here. How's that sound?
That's great. Well, I truly appreciate everything you're doing and what you do with your podcast.
Thanks for coming on. Love what NBAA is doing. I've been a big part. Yeah. I love following you guys. Love what you're doing for the industry. Thanks for coming on today, Andrew.
Thank you.
Talk soon.